Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thanks for watching. So I wanted to share with you all the recent interview that I had with Yenenesh Nigusse, who is our guest facilitator for the upcoming Root Chakra Movement Meditation Masterclass that we've got happening here at JUNE Capoeira in West End in Brisbane this Sunday. So Yenenesh is originally adopted from Ethiopia, and she is a passionate exponent of dance, and not just African styles, but also Latin and contemporary styles. And she's well known in the Brisbane dance scene and across Australia for her distinct, authentic style. She is deeply grounded and rooted in her African culture and her heritage, and she's a vibrant facilitator who uses the power of dance to bridge gaps across languages and cultures and really transcend into new realms of creativity and self-exploration and self-inquiry into who we are as creative beings and our creative identity. So in the interview, we speak about her deeply moving personal story and of how she came to be in Australia after suffering the tragic loss of her parents when she was a young child, and how she found a sense of purpose and meaning and healing through dance, and how she now uses dance as a way to connect communities and connect people back with their roots and their creative cultural heritage and identity. And I just also wanted to share with you all something that we spoke about after the interview, and something that was an integral and is an integral part of Yenenesh's story as well, is how her personal journey into motherhood has really influenced her work and her dance as well. And really how it's shaped and how her personal journey has shaped who she is as a mother and the role that dance plays in her parenting style. And also the relationship with her body and who she is as a mother. And so I just wanted to share with you something that Yenenesh has said to me after we completed the interview. And she said, "Motherhood has changed me on how I perceive the world. I had dance as my vital life source and focus, but it changed once I had Santi. He became a huge part of my being and grounded me even more. He's taught me to focus on the things that truly matter, which is family, love, and the basic things in life such as joy, playfulness, and being even more open. I've connected more with nature and been on more adventures with him. I learned so much of who I am having become a mother. Santi and I often just dance around the house and get really silly. He loves to move and express himself, and even at his age, he's so in tune with things around him. His energy is so strong, but so grounded. He's a physical kid who needs to move and explore the world through his body, and I love that I can share this with him. It was never forced, but a natural progression for him wanting to explore dance and express himself in this way." And I just thought that that was something really important and such an integral part of Yenenesh's story, and such an integral part of the energy of the root chakra as well, is Yenenesh's story as a mother, and how we relate to our own mothers in the Mother Earth energy, and really connecting in with our roots and our ancestors and our ancestral lineages. And it's such an important story for Yenenesh, having gone through the loss of her mother and her father. So I thought I just wanted to share that as well, because we didn't have time to, or we didn't manage to speak about that in the interview. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoy this interview. This is Yenenesh Nigusse. If you have any questions about the upcoming movement meditation masterclasses or workshop series, the Colour Theory workshop series, please feel free to reach out and contact me. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this interview with Yenenesh. Hey Yenenesh, thank you so much for doing this and taking the time to have a chat with us and tell us a little bit about who you are. And yeah, we're so honoured and privileged to welcome you to be part of this project that we're doing, the Colour Theory Project. And I'm so excited personally to work and collaborate with you as well. So welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be part of the project.
Yeah.
Remember telling me about it, and now it's coming to fruition. So it's really exciting to be part of this process and the whole creative team. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we'll just dive straight into it. What I thought I'd love to ask you first is, I'd love to know a little bit about your name, actually. Can you tell us a little bit about what Yenenesh means and what it means for you and part of your origin story?
Yeah, sure. So Yenenesh means you are mine. It's a name from Ethiopia. It's a very old name. It's not commonly used anymore. And it was a name that I was given by my father. His name was Nigusse. And I mean, my name holds a lot. You know, it means, I guess it means something that is a connection to my heritage, to my culture, to my ancestors, to just who I am in general has made me, my name has become part of who I am today and what my values are at the core of who I am as well. So when I first came to Australia, my adoptive parents wanted us to change our name. They gave us middle names. My middle name is Kim. Now, I mean, that's way off from Yenenesh. So they did that because they want us to assimilate into the culture and for people to not struggle with our names. But I was only quite young when I came, and I said to them, no. I said to them, my name holds a lot more than just a name. It's part of my culture. It's part of my history. It's a connection to back to where I started, you know? And you know, that was always very important to me from a very young age. And my parents knew I was quite adamant about that. And so they never pushed. So they were happy for me to keep my name. And I made sure that people learned it properly, learned the pronunciation, because if I make an effort to learn your name, what's the difference between you learning to say my name correctly?
Absolutely.
You know, that's really important to me. This is why even if I meet someone who has, you know, a different name that's not common to this culture here, I go out of my way to make sure I learn their full name and the pronunciation, because it holds so much more than just a name. You know, it goes deeper and beyond that.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful and so awesome that you had that mindset at such a young age as well. How old were you when you came to Australia? And perhaps could you tell us a little bit about your origin story and a little bit about your heritage and where you're from and how you've been able to connect with your roots and your heritage and your ancestors through dance?
So my story starts in Ethiopia, in Mekelle, which is the north part of Ethiopia. So I was actually born in a village, and my mum was quite young when she had me. So she got married to my dad when she was 17, and our dad was a little bit older than that. And he was actually a soldier. So she worked in the campus and she was a cook. So I was born there. That's kind of how my life was. You know, it was quite simple. We didn't have much, but you know, we had food on the table, and that was enough. It was very simple living, you know. And to collect water, would go down the river with a big jug. So life was very simple, and that's how it started. So for me, I value things that are simple, you know, and those memories of just being there with my family. It's also part of what's kind of a driving force in what I do. So unfortunately, though, there was like a civil war that broke out, and my dad, we had to flee the village. So then my dad stayed behind, and that was the last time we saw of him or heard from him. So obviously he'd, you know, died.
Wow.
So then we continued on foot to another village, and there was just so much that happened in between there, and there was so much to process as a child. And my sister was only a few years old then. And we managed to go to another village. My mum started up a new life. I'd help her selling tea on the roadsides just so we had food on our table. And then another tragedy struck. So our mum had a very bad car accident, and there was no hospitals nearby because we lived in a village. And so she unfortunately passed away. So by then it was like one after the other, we had one tragedy after another. And, our parents were our world to us, especially at that age. So we kind of lost that very quickly. And we were...
How old were you at the time?
I would have been about 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were placed in different homes with friends, but they were unable to look after us as well. I mean, it's 2 extra mouths to feed. And then eventually we moved to Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia, to live with our auntie. And she was about 16 at that time. And she was working as a maid at our great uncle's, what was it? It was, it was a hotel, but it was also a brothel. Mm-hmm. So she was a cleaner there, and she'd cook. And so we stayed there for some time, but it wasn't great memories. Like our great uncle was quite mean, and he was quite cruel. So I had to endure his meanness quite a bit. So he would beat me all the time. Mm-hmm. And this is what kind of pushed our auntie into putting us into an orphanage, because she knew that she couldn't protect us and provide what we needed. And she was quite young herself, So it was for us, I guess, it was one thing after another that happened, and it just compounded. And I internalized a lot of the feelings that I had because I didn't have time to process. It was just I kept carrying all these things. Then when we went to the orphanage, it was a sense of community, a sense of belonging. I remember it being happy times, and we were there for a couple of years before we were told that we were going to get adopted. So during the holidays, we'd stay with a family. So we'd get fostered out for the holidays to different families in Ethiopia. And we stayed with a family in Addis Ababa. And they treated us like we were their own. And they made us feel like we were part of something, And eventually, the man who did look after us, he was a part of the adoption program that was being opened between Australia and Ethiopia. And our parents were the first ones to actually open that program. And they fought for about, I think, 3 to 4 years to open that program.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then eventually we did get adopted. It was all finalized. Our parents came to Ethiopia, stayed for 3 months. They really wanted to know about our culture. So they stayed for 3 months to understand the language, the food. We traveled around Ethiopia so that we could feel comfortable with them. Mm-hmm. And then we then flew to Australia. Now, my first impression of Australia was I thought everything in the supermarkets was free. I didn't like the smells very much. I didn't like the food. I felt the flavors didn't feel, I don't know, I just didn't like a lot of the foods. And I felt like there was something missing. Mm-hmm. Even though I had a new family, I had a new life, it was, I got so many opportunities that I know I would never get living in Ethiopia. But I felt a sense of something missing at the core of who I was. And I didn't feel like I belonged, really, even though, I was given a beautiful family. So over the years, it led me into wondering about my, I guess, who I was. We didn't have photos of our parents, so I always wondered who I looked like, whose personality I took, I had, and I just wanted to know our family. So for years, I would just have these dreams, recurring dreams. And at the age of 12, I told my parents, I need to go back. I need to go back and find them, find some information, some connection, because I said, it feels like there's something missing and I just don't feel whole. I felt like there was a big puzzle missing. And our parents are very supportive about that. They really want us to keep connected to that culture and heritage. Mm-hmm. And while we were here, they opened up, a language school and also started a dance group so we could connect with the Ethiopian community that was in Brisbane at the time. And it was great. When we went back, I don't know, the universe was listening for years and my prayers, I guess, everything aligned and I was able to, we found somebody who knew our family, the first village that we went to.
Wow.
A road. And this guy's like, yeah, I used to live down there. And everything started to come back. I knew the road. I knew exactly where we lived, the house. It was all the same. It was still there. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of unraveled and we got to connect with extended family. We found more cousins we found photos about both our parents, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We could see where we came from,
Wow.
and found out the story about, you know, our parents and how they met, and just all those little pieces of the puzzle started to join.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's hard to express in words because it's just a feeling that is very sacred to me, that is held in my heart for a long time, and it's helped me get through a lot of things. But that's kind of my story, I guess. That's where that's my origin. And all of those things that happened, all those, I guess, traumas and stresses and tragedy brought me into focusing on dance. And dance was my healing tool. It was my way to move through what I was feeling and the trauma that I felt, or the sadness that I was experiencing. And that's kind of where I think the love of dance really started, when I was 8 years old, because I needed something to work through what I was feeling. And I felt like dance was something that I could stand in front of a crowd and be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise I would hide, you know? So it was kind of the catalyst where it started opening up a lot of things around my interest and intrigue around movements, learning about other cultures, other styles of dance. It's just really just unraveled all of that, and I've never kind of looked back because it's added so much to what I do in my practice now.
Yeah, it's incredible, and such an incredible story to go through and come out of it with still such a strong sense of who you are and your values. It's really incredible to hear that story. And yeah, you know, like, no child should ever have to experience something like that, you know, but the fact that you have, and the fact that you're here now sharing your story and your message with other people, that's so incredibly powerful. And so, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that story.
Oh, no.
And so you've touched on it a little bit now already in how dance has helped you to move through a lot of that pain and trauma. So can you maybe just elaborate a little bit more? How has dance and movement really helped you to connect with who you are and really overcome those challenges?
Yeah. Well, I really do feel like dance is a healing tool for people to move through their traumas and experiences, or whatever it is that they're carrying within their body. And it's a way to release it. And I feel like it has, I guess, dance has given me a sense of freedom, a peace, and a way to process all of those feelings that I had, or the traumas, the feeling of being displaced and isolated all the time. It let me move through that and get a sense of who I am as a person, and what I can do with that story and the feelings that I've had, and how I can help other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's allowed me to really connect on a deeper level, and understand, and be willing to be open to listening to those stories and to those individuals or communities.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Instance, I worked with actually a group of adoptees from Ethiopia as well, and for them we created this little community. You know, we'd come together every Friday afternoon after school, and we'd teach them the different styles of different cultural dances from around Ethiopia. And we created this little community, you know, and we talked about our identity and culture and what that means. You know, I remember thinking back that if I had that a little bit with the dance group, but I was also wishing that I had that when I was at their age, you know, just to feel like I was still a part of something. I wasn't like the other all the time.
Yeah.
So, you know,
a bit of a sense of belonging for you as well.
Yeah. So really, I think the driving force for what I do is about creating a sense of community.
Beautiful.
And connection to other people.
Beautiful. So how would you describe your movement language?
Well, I think movement has had, I don't know, it's just, I had these words. I'm just trying to remember what I wrote, because I guess movement has been a constant, like a heartbeat heartbeat for me. It's been consistent, always kept me in line with what I do. And, it's not like something that if I lose sight or if I stumble, I feel like that kind of brings me back. It brings me back to my center and the center of who I am as a person. And with, I guess, my movement language is the best way I can describe it is when I'm listening to live music, especially drumming, like that is, it's like there's a beautiful silent relationship and communication that happens. And it almost kind of just engulfs me. And the feeling of, I guess, like just I start to connect to and listen to my body, moving through my hands, my feet. It all kind of connects, and the drum also helps me to kind of get into more of a meditative state where I feel like I am more connected to things around me and what I'm doing. And I don't know, it's more of a spiritual experience for me. And it allows me to be fluid, allows me to be stable and secure in what I'm doing. That's what it gives me. And my movement language is fluidity, just learning to move through things and to get that groundedness as well.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful, and definitely something that I resonate with in my own practice of dance. Like for me, dance was never really part of my life growing up, but I realized that I had always been practicing this type of movement meditation, that in the same way that you have, is like it connects me to myself, and I realized that I'd been practicing this in some form or another for many, many years without even realizing what I was doing, because it was just this spiritual practice to bring me back home, and to bring me back to my alignment or my roots or whatever that was, whatever that is for me, So I deeply resonate with that as well. And I think that's why I am so moved by the work that you do as well. So what is it about dance and movement that really inspires you?
Ooh, there's a lot. I mean, there's something beautiful about dance that connects people. It's a space that it can be, especially for what I practice, it has to be inclusive. And it has to be a space where people of all ages, gender, race, sexual orientation, socioeconomic, whatever it is, to come into a space and feel like they're a part of something and have a space where they can freely express, So for me, I get inspired by seeing the way that it brings joy to people. Movement, dance, however it is, there's a deep connection, it brings out something in people. Whatever they're experiencing through life, if you dance, it allows you to just step out of whatever you're feeling and experience the joy and the energies around you. And just be a part of that community. It's just this extraordinary about dance. Like I've seen it in the projects that I've done, where there was one woman that I was working with. She would never, ever step out of her comfort zone and talk to anyone. But through just attending the dance workshops or movement workshops, you can't even get it to stop now. She'll go up to anyone and talk to them. She just like, she's not inhibited anymore. She feels secure in who she is. She's felt safe in the space to come out and say, you know what, this is who I am. And I want to be seen. The visibility is also important, especially working also in minority groups. I've learned that visibility and inclusivity is very important. And sometimes I think that gets missed a little bit. And so it's just, I guess it's all practitioners and being accountable for that and finding ways to make sure everything is inclusive.
Absolutely.
Language, getting to know what's important to them culturally, being culturally sensitive. There's just those little things can mean so much to someone, and it's down to us to kind of bring that as well and make that included in the space and make it part of the norm. Dance is for everybody. You don't have to be a ballet dancer to be considered a professional dancer or a mover,
Absolutely. I think that's definitely been part of my story as well, is this honoring and recognizing that I'm a dancer, even though I was never considered a dancer. You know, I never had formal dance training or anything like that. But it's kind of universal, isn't it? You know, moving our bodies is universal. It brings this joy and like this sense of connection, and it like you say, it connects us to our origins in this way that's like deeply profound and impactful, and it brings us into this sense of self-confidence and a knowing of who we are. And when we can like see the others for who they are in their authenticity, or in their light, you know, in their unique light, we transcend the boundaries of culture and language and differences, or the perceived differences, and we can commune with one another, and we can exchange through this creative process of bodies and movement and expression. And I love that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, if you look at, because I come from a more traditional cultural dance practice, and what I love about that is that there are stories behind the movements, and the music tells a story. And these stories are something that's passed on from generation to generation, you know? It's a way to connect the past with the present to the future, you know what I mean? So that's what I also love about it. It's in a way, it's always going to be carried through. You know, there's stories and there's memories, and it's just a way to keep people connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
So vital.
It's really interesting that you talk about memory as well, because it's a big part of the work that we're doing with this root chakra workshop that we're doing. It's really about connecting with our ancestral memory and this kind of pool of consciousness that exists outside of the physical realm. And dance can be a tool for accessing that, you know. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had in dance process, where you've had these perhaps revelations or insights, or even visions? Or can you tell me a little bit about any experiences that you've had like that within your meditative state or trance or movement process?
I think with the processes or understanding that I have now, knowledge, it's been, I think every personal experience that I've had, and I've had to find a way to deal with it, that's always been the kind of, I guess, the, not the foundation, but it's just the starting point for me to kind of unfold and unravel and just see what that is, you know? And in that process, it's allowed me to look at dance as just not as a performance element. There's more to it than that. And it's about the fact that movement in general is something that can be used in a healing way. It can be used to connect people. It can be used to, I guess, really dig deep into your subconscious of who you are as a person, and I guess what has created all those things that have happened to you. What am I trying to say? It's basically, what I'm trying to say is that it's looking at your beginning, and I guess by doing that you can see your roadmap to where you will be going, you know. And through that process, in my personal journey, I've been able to kind of go, okay, what is it that makes me want to continue what I do, and how movement and dance has allowed me to, you know, connect with people. Like, what is it? And I think it comes back to being very simple, and it's about the joy that it brings to people. And also this, for me, has been that it's created that stability and foundations of knowing where I am going.
Yeah.
It's created that pathway. So I'm not sure if it really answered your question.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I mean, yeah, there may not have necessarily been these specific moments that you've become like illuminated with vision, but I totally hear what you're saying about how through this kind of like subconscious listening to those messages and memories, we can then bring forth in our present moment this understanding of the path ahead, for sure, you know, like a kind of an inner knowing of our roadmap, you know, and I really love that. I really get that, and is part of what I experience in my movement process as well. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the work that you're currently involved in or have been involved in?
Yep. So I was lucky enough to be one of the teaching artists and the part of the creative team for a project called The Quest. We just wrapped up the season a few weeks ago, and it was basically a group of individuals from varying backgrounds coming together to work on developing a show. And through this process, it wasn't just a learning experience for the individuals, but also for me as a practitioner. There was a lot that I learned and a lot of things that I took away. And especially hearing and being privileged to witness the stories from these individuals, it's been really, I don't know, it's just given me something beautiful that I can take away and carry and practice in what I do. So this project was initially started with a project called We All Dance in 2017. And then there was, another, a smaller development offshoot of that project was then developed into The Quest. So it was led by Sandy Wu, and she's an incredible creative person, and she's great at what she does. And she brought a really great team of creative individuals to come together and work with the community and the dancers that wanted to be involved. So I got the honor of working with that. And yeah, so that was, we just wrapped that up. But I've got a few things in the pipeline. They're simmering away at the moment. So I've got to get myself together. One idea at a time. Some conversations with a few people. But at the moment, my main focus is doing a lot of cultural education in dance in different schools, high schools and primary schools, and doing a lot of performance-based work at the moment.
Awesome. How have you seen dance and movement affect people and communities in the work that you've done? So perhaps can you tell us a little bit about some of the outcomes and the results that you've seen in individuals or in yourself personally? And I mean, I know we're already touching on a lot of what the outcomes are, but have you seen any, can you tell us any stories?
Oh yeah, there's, I've done a few projects where I've worked with young people as well. And that for me is, I love working with kids and young people. So that's where my passion is really. And I recently was last year, I did a project where we were trying to engage youth who were kind of at risk and something positive, to channel the energy into something positive. And it was probably 10 youths from different varying African backgrounds and countries. And, you know, they came in and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting, because I could see they were coming in with this attitude like, who are you? And, you know, so I thought, okay, this is going to be fun. But the thing is, like, I learned something, you know, and it wasn't about me trying to teach them something. It was also opening up the space for them to say, hey, you know what? You have value in what you know and what you can share with me. I'm also willing to learn. And because there's also that cultural expectation, you know, that they have to be a certain way and try and fit in this society, the Western society. It's so different to what their cultural practices are at home, what the parents expect. Sometimes they find it's difficult for the parents to kind of accept that. And these young kids are going to school with people that speak English who are, they have different way of doing things, different types of food. They just want to be a part of that. And I know there's that internal struggle for both of them. So this project was, it was just, for me, it was really uplifting. And I got to see them really shine and come out and show us who they were. There was a lot of them who were quite angry, and some of them who were just extremely shy and withdrawn. And just to see the joy that it brought for them to just come every week for a couple of hours. We work together, we'd sit down, we'd talk, we'd just start basically talking about, something that happened in a week. It would be just simple as that, just a simple communication about how their week was. Spoke about their favorite food, their favorite music, their favorite whatever it was, and it was just a way to kind of build that trust in the group. And we'd even end up drawing some pictures, sitting there doing some artwork, and then eventually creating movement pieces out of the stories that they're drawing or writing, and just giving them space to just be who they are, and I guess have a space where they can come in and not feel like they have to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. And for me, it's just as simple as being able to kind of break through those barriers with these young people. And even their carers came in afterwards saying they've never had a facilitator that was able to get them that comfortable very quickly. Because honestly, they were surprised that a lot of these kids wouldn't be quiet. They did talk and they were expressing themselves. They were so excited. They were dancing. I mean, that was the whole point of it, And it goes back to what I know is dance can bring that out of people. Movements can bring out that joy and that feeling of safety or feeling connected to community, building a community.
Absolutely.
That's many of one, but I've had also the opportunity to work in indigenous communities, and I have to say they're some of my favorites experiences, because I got to work with some very funny, fun, just energetic young kids who were just thriving, just wanting to share what they knew, and for us to come and accept that, this is their culture too, and we. In no way as facilitators did we say, oh no, I'm just here to teach you a dance and I'm out. It was more about, okay, we would spend most of the time learning about their culture. We would spend time they'll teach us how to spearfish, and go looking at crops or whatever it was. It was just so that they felt like we weren't coming in there to take over or disregard who and what they are and their culture. And it's also just saying to them, yes, we're here to also learn from you. We're not here to just teach you something and be on our way. It was about leaving something that was sustainable.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I love that kind of the reciprocal relationship, that there's a listening there as well as a facilitator. Like it's not just your role to come in and teach these people what you know. It's about this relationship and like a dynamic interchange where you're listening to what they need and their stories and their cultural practices and customs and traditions. And then you're in this dynamic exchange with them, creating story together. Yeah, I really love that.
Well, if you think about it, community is vital to them, having that connection to community. It's part of their foundations of who they are. If they lose that, it's that feeling of isolation, feeling like you're alone. So it's just knowing as a facilitator and a practitioner that you have the power to create that space for them. And just being aware and how you do that, making sure you're inclusive, the language, even if it's non-verbal, just making sure you're culturally sensitive to all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. How would you, what comes up for you when we channel into the energy of the root chakra?
For me, it's stability, knowing who I am, and connecting to my roots and culture. I can feel when something is off and I'm not connecting. It's just being really aware of my body and what it's feeling and what it's telling me. And just finding ways to connect back to that. Mm-hmm. And if I can't find it through movement, then I know what it is. I have to go back to the basics, which is connecting back to the earth. You know, that can be simple as for me, going in nature, going for a walk in nature, especially rainforest. Mm-hmm. That's something that gives me a sense of peace and grounding. And swimming in the water as mm-hmm. well. Just connecting back to earth, and it sets me back into being grounded. But I do aim to move through my stresses and my worries through continually moving and acknowledging and releasing what I'm holding in my body, and setting back into that groundedness. So it's just seeking that and making sure I feed back into what I need to get back into my center. And just, you know, it's one of those things that's a process and it's a journey. So it's always going to change because there's always going to be something different happening in life. But I know that I can always go back to my center and what grounds me. I know what that is. And definitely dance it's a huge part of that. It kind of roots me back into everything around me.
Yeah, for sure. I really love this idea when working with the energy of the root chakra, this idea of like the roots of the trees that go down into the earth, right? And then in like a rainforest, for example, all of the trees are actually connected underneath the ground with their roots. And I love this. And it speaks to exactly what you're talking about with dance and how it connects people and how it's this universal thing that we all experience. And it's something that I love to really focus in on. And I think as well, for me, at least in my story as a Western person or as someone with European heritage as well, living on Australian land, living in this colonized land, and my search for what is my indigeneity, you know, and where is my origin and where do my ancestors come from and what is that story? And it's something that really connects me back to this acceptance of who I am as well, is this remembering that when we connect with our roots, when we connect with our origin stories and our ancestors and our heritage, we connect to others as well through that process of seeking our roots. And I just get chills thinking about it, you know, and because there's a lot of there's a lot of trauma in many lands, not only this land, surrounding colonization and loss of cultures and loss of languages and loss of peoples, and just coming back to that connection with the roots that connects us all and unifies us all. So that's definitely a big part of the work that I do, is how can we come back to a sense of community as a united people, you know, not these separate cultures, honoring and recognizing and acknowledging that we all have these different stories and heritage and culture. And also, how do we come together with our roots all connected like the forests, you know? If you could pass on one message to people through your work, what would it be?
I think finding one message is difficult, but I have a few key messages that I like to live by, and hopefully I can pass on to the people or anyone that I work with in the community. It's the sense of community connection, and that just means that, you know, there's a place for everyone to coexist and be a part of the community. We also have a purpose within the larger community. So we are one, and dance allows space for that. Another thing is joy, you know, joy of movement. And the movement is there to release an energy or feeling of something you're working through or wanting to express. It allows you to release and share and joy, and the joy in what dance can bring to others and to self. It can also connect. It also allows to connect or a connection and a space for joy to be shared with other people.
Mm.
I think those are the main things for me that I always want to pass through what I'm doing. I just feel like we all have a purpose, you know,
Yeah.
and more valuable, and we can share through the joys in our lives and through, I guess, connecting through dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. So I just want to acknowledge you and honor you and say thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. And I'm so excited about working with you. Your workshop and our collaborative workshop is happening on Sunday, the 6th of June at JUNE Capoeira in West End in Brisbane. So if anyone's interested in coming along to collaborate with us and participate in sharing the joy of dance and movement and meditation with us, please come along. If people want to find out more about you and if people want to follow your work and your journey, how can we find out more about you? Can you share with us some of your social media or website? Or
my website is still under construction, but there's can follow me on Instagram. It's just Yenenesh Nigusse, my first name and surname, and also on Facebook I've got a page under my name, Yenenesh Nigusse.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'll link people to that in the notes section.
Thanks so much. I mean, hopefully everybody can make it. You know, for me, I can articulate through dance very well, and I want to show you that. So please attend, share that with us and share that experience.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And if anybody is curious to find out more about the Colour Theory Project and the Root Chakra Workshop and any of the workshops, we have this incredible lineup of incredible artists and dancers and movers and healers. You can visit vibrantartsmedia.com for the list of workshops and all the different creative projects that's going on there. Thank you so much, Yenenesh. It's been so wonderful talking to you today, and look forward to working more with you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all for listening, and thank you so much to Yenenesh for sharing your deeply moving and inspiring story with us. I'm so excited to be collaborating with you. If anybody is in Brisbane and interested in finding out more about the Root Chakra Movement Meditation Masterclass happening this Sunday, please feel free to contact me or reach out. You can visit www.vibrantartsmedia.com. So looking forward to exploring this work with you all deeper, and looking forward to the next one to come. Thanks. Bye.